Beginning our Daf Mesech Nedarim Daf Samach Vav, we begin on the top line of the Yomit, where we begin the next Mishnah. Here in this theme that we said that this parak is discussing regarding the word pasting. We see the word pasting coming up in the beginning where both these Mishnahs, because it's talking about regarding what we use as an opening to be master the neder. What can you say that, oh, if I would have known, I would never have taken such a neder. Should start with the covenant. That's the sentence that time. Christian is going to today's daf. Some of this is discussed in today's daf are the machlekes we given the chacham regarding neder should be tzasek. Let's say able to find part of a neder and to permit it. Do we say that then the entire neder is permitted? Some of the cases to that are kinyan and tell you. If the guy says, "Look, take a neder, I'm not going to drink wine because wine is bad for the stomach," and they say, "Hey, that's only that one. How about that one?" So they're going to be permitting some of the neder. Or kind of b'tzal shavi comes and I'm not getting onion shop. It's something I'll live. It's bad for the heart. He said, "Wait a second. It's only certain type of onion. Not those are." So part of that is going to be permitted. You said that automatically the whole net is going to be permitted, and then we get into a discussion regarding kain shani nen lekulchem versus kain shani nen lazeh. There's a difference if you say all of you or you and you and you and you to say that what is it considered as one whole neder, so that it'll be neder shukul say the kula would be considered as independent nedarim. Usually the next Mishnah is say place on the other you open up a person's say your own dignity, your children's dignity, what people are going to say, and that's considered a valid test. Then we finish off with claiming Johnny Nason's claiming Scooter, which we referenced in the previous stop. The guy says, "Look, I'm taking it. I'm not marrying that ugly woman." It turns out, already no, she's actually beautiful, and therefore it's a netted choice, and therefore that would be permitted. And then we have Masechta Chachamim actually regarding Kuru Benasas not. She was ugly, but then she was made beautiful. She got those veneers put in. She got something done for herself, and therefore she became beautiful. Would that be a heter for the neder or not? Additionally, what comes up in today's daf, the Rabbi Shloimy, he says that if you say shvuah for every single person, let's say have a shvuah, people are demanding money from you, you're taking an oath of the odom and not. So you have a call echad be'echad if you say shvuah because that's a thought. The word shvuah creates a separate shvuah for each claim. But if you didn't say the word shvuah for every single one, you're not going to chayav but one shvuah because it's a kol haba. It doesn't make a difference say with above, without above. You say lazeh, ulazeh. Doesn't make a difference. You have to say the word shvuah to make another oath be on every single individual. So we're going to carve down the sum of love. Says the Mishnah on top of the oven. Sin, a person could open up. If let's say he took a neder, as all the previous Mishnahs are talking about, that he's not going to eat meat and wine for the entire year, but Toisin b'yom tovim or b'shabbasos. We open up for him to be matzah's neder regarding Yom Tov and Shabbos, that he can't look. Had you known that it's forbidden to be in pain in Shabbos when you're taking such a neder, he says, no, I would have thought about the Shabbos. I'm going to be sitting there like a goyim by the kiddush, and I can't eat any meat, no meat board, no wine. So then I would never take such a neder. So we're going to be matzah the neder for him. Now, very shiny in the beginning, what was like this was they said, okay, fine. Those days that which are he would never have taken it for Shabbos and Yom Tov, so that's permitted. For Shakal Yom Asur, but the other days, weekdays, so that should remain forbidden because that's what your neder would have included. But the Kiva limit or the Kiva came along, they taught no Shad neder should machlala if you have a vow that was permitted from its categorical prohibition, which was all encompassing, and now you're permitting some of it. All of it becomes permitted, which the Ram brings from the Yerushalmi. What's the source? It says in the pasuk, like everything that comes out of his mouth he has to do, which sounds like it's only when he has to keep all of it. But if some of it becomes undone, then all of it becomes undone. Which the Mishnah illustrates Ketzad. What's a case to illustrate this? Omar, if someone says, I'm taking that. All you guys, I'm not having benefit from all you guys. But if one of them becomes permitted, we find a way to say, would you have met this guy? And it says no. Hutru kulon, we all become permitted. Now, however, the Mishnah does make a contrast between kulchem and another word, even though it's really also all of them. Let's say he said, he starts delineating. He says, I'm not a benefit, not for you, and not for you, and not for you, and not for you. But the Ram points out, the Gemara over there elsewhere explains that it's told about what's called shetaloin zeb zeb. That is making it dependent one on the other, which is that he's saying the first guy, and the second guy is like the first guy, and the third is like the second. He's making dependent like a chain, one on the other. Therefore, it has a different halacha. Hutra Rishayin, if the first one becomes permitted, so Hutra Kula, they all become permitted. The reason for that is because it's like a chain. If the first link in the chain is not there, the whole thing falls apart. Hutra Ha'achrain, but if let's say the last one becomes permitted, well, Ha'achrain, what is the last one permitted? But Kul Masur, all the rest are going to be forbidden because the first one's not dependent on the later ones, the later one dependent on the first one. The next words in the parentheses is really from a brisa Putra and soy, the middle becomes permitted, and then the lamata putter. From there on, lower down becomes permitted, because again, they're all dependent on whatever's before them. Even lumala also, but the previous ones are going to be permitted. So now we're Mishnah with another case. Sha'ani nenel zeh carbon. I take a isser of a carbon that may have benefit from this guy. Ulazeh carbon, and to this guy a carbon. Again, the carbon is lashon of a shabur. So tzricham pesach u'chalech v'echad. You would need an opening for every single one individual, because each and every one, you made an independent net. You said the word carbon independently by each one. That wouldn't be like kulchem to say, oh, one of them is permitted. Neder shouldn't be tzasar ha'kekulim. No, because it's considered like an independent one for every single person. Now, continue on this halacha of Rabbi Kiva of putim uchlalai. Says the Mishnah. Let's say a guy says, he says, you know what? I just watched this documentary on wine, and he says, I take a net, I'm not drinking wine anymore. I see what the wine does, it's terrible, all the different chemicals inside, it's bad for the stomach, I'm taking a net. They said to him, hello, buddy, you misunderstood the documentary. Old wine is good for the stomach. It's only the new wine, which is toxins and whatever, that's bad. Oh, so says the Mishnah, put the b'miyushin. So it's permitted in old wine, as the Ram points out, that you don't even need to have a Pesach for. Because he never had in mind for old wine, because his whole point was because it's bad for the stomach. Old wine is not bad for the stomach. But says the Mishnah, based on Rekia's principle, the life of Yushin Bavat Putter is not only permitted in old wine, rather in old wine, again, for the principle of, because Neder Shodim Mitzaseh Putter Kula. So let's say a guy says, kind of Bitzal Shanitem, says, that's it, I'm swearing off onions, because Shabbatzal Rabbi went to the doctor, and the doctor said that onions are bad for the heart, you got to cut it out of your diet. They said to him, but Allah have kufi of life. He just meant the regular onions you buy in the store. You go to the specialty store, you get these imported kufi onions, they're good for the heart. So that's not something you shouldn't be eating. Oh, so says the Mishnah, obviously permitted kufi, that was never included in his vendors. But says the Mishnah, there's not only kufi onions that are permitted. All the onions, because of the principle of Neder Shodim Mitzasai Putter Kula. And Ma'aseh says the Mishnah was actually a story. So the May actually had such a story himself, and he said, yes, you're allowed to eat all onions now, because since it's partially permitted, it's all going to be permitted. Now, the Gemara asked, or he said in the Mishnah, Putra. We said, if you said, Sheni Nen Lazeh, so it's like a linking. They said the last one becomes permitted. What does that last one be permitted? But for Kula Story, all the previous ones are going to be forbidden. Now, in my Gemara, on the bottom, the Goyes Tziyunim they bring the Rashash that it should really have a v'chulu, an etc. Because the primary point what the Gemara is going to say right now is actually on the next segment of the Mishnah, which is actually the word sha'ani nenel zeh carbon, like the Russian around point out. It's really going on the next part of the Mishnah regarding the carbon part. This that you said for each and every one of carbon. Then we're going to say each and every one is going to be a separate shiur. On that subject, the Gemara asks the Gemara, Man Tana, who is the Tana of the Mishnah? Meaning, the Ran explains that you have to say lazer carbon, and then you need to have a pesach for every single one individually. Obviously, that in general it's not specific. Only if you mention to each one the word carbon. If not, it wouldn't make a difference if you say lazer, lazer with above, or lazer. Without above, it doesn't make a difference. It would be one categorical cloud. Who's the Tana of Mishnah? It says it only becomes specific that you need a separate pesach for each and every one if you say the word carbon with each one individually.
So in the other case, so it doesn't have to be a chain if it would not be a chain. If you would not make one dependent on the other, what would you be doing that?
I mean, what would make it into a separate?
Well, it's one nether, but it didn't say column. Right. It's column, that. But you didn't make one dependent on the other.
But it would be a cloud. It sounds like it would be a cloud then.
What would you say?
Then it sounds like if you would say. So you want to know what's with
but it seems to be
right.
Then why did the Mishnah have to say that they are linked?
Tolui and zebazet.
Why did you say to that? It's a bigger tradition to say not to.
Unless you say if you say different wordings, it's neither one. It's not cloud, but it's not going to be prat either. Here, what would that be? It's somewhere in the middle, really, in a way. Because it's the one linked like, from the one before.
But it's mashma from the ratio that would exclude that kind of an adder. From the safer, it's mashma.
Right. Right, but it sounds like it's somewhere in the middle. It sounds like it's not prat, not each one independent.
Right.
It's somewhat, it's codependent. It's like somewhat dependent.
It's only codependent because it's one net.
No, because not one neder. In other words, the earlier one will not be permitted, the later one's permitted. But the later one will be permitted if the earlier one is permitted. Neder shouldn't because I would do cool, they mean to say they're all going to be permitted no matter which is permitted.
That's the Mishnah's case, what you're saying. But I'm saying the Mishnah, if the Mishnah would not say that, that's really that.
Right, if they wouldn't be fluid zeh,
then what would happen if you get a heta on one of them?
so so what would that be? So I have to know what that means. Maybe it's from what he said, carbon each one in the pen.
No, he didn't say carbon.
Right. If he didn't, then maybe that would be a klal then.
So then it would be good.
Yeah, then it'd be but then even the chacham would agree. I mean, no, I'm saying then it would be
Then why does the Mishnah say fluid?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's somewhere in the middle that what would happen if you didn't make it klim zeh, so then you have to know what wording you use. If you use
Right. Without being fluid.
Yeah, good job. Exactly how that case could work out. So the Gemara says, so who's the Tana of our Mishnah that says that without saying each one carbon, it would be one klal. And again, I think that's the difference. I think the klal is saying, if you're saying tluyin, makes it that even the chacham, that's the word I think, even the chacham would agree that if you permit the early ones, the later ones are going to be permitted. They don't hold to the principle, neither should be tzasach tekula. But they would agree that tluyin zeh b'zeh, only. Yes, in that case, that would be permitting. But who's the time of the Mishnah says the Gemara that if you don't say carbon by each one individually, it is a klal. So Rabbi says Rabbi Shimon, it's Rabbi Shimon. Because he says in Parak Shvutz called Shvutz on the Dom base, you have 5 people claiming from somebody that he owed them money, and he says Shvutz HaPekadon, which is the oath that of, let's say, a deposit that you swear if you don't owe people money, and he says, I don't know, not to you, which he says you're never going to be chayav for each one independently, meaning it will only be one shvur you're chayav for, until you say the term shvur for each one independently. Because if not, whether used above or not above, it is considered as a klal, considered as one big oath, and therefore he must be the time of the Mishnah that to be chayav each one independently, you have to say a separate word of shvur or carbon to make it independent. Now the Mishnah said, the guy takes a neder, I'm not going to drink wine, etc. So they tell him, say, what do you mean? Shabbos and Yom Tov, Yushin, if it's old, it's good. So if it's good, so then why would you be taking a neder? So he's permitted the old wine. He said not only permitted the old wine, it's permitted all of it. The Gemara's question is, why did the Gemara have to say that the old wine is good for the stomach, even if it's not good? That's a very technical question. The typically is run. It should be sufficient. It's not bad. Since it's not bad, then you permit in the old wine because he made his neder dependent on because wine is bad for the stomach. Why do you have to say that it's good? So the Gemara, you're right. It's what's called ba'oy, and also not only is it not bad, yafa, it's good. Kutani says the Mishnah. Meaning, yes, first of all, it's not bad, and therefore that would permit it itself. And I don't have to say because it's not even not bad. It's actually good for the stomach. Similarly, the Gemara has the same question by Kohen B'tzal Shemitain. Guy takes a neder that I'm not going to taste any onions. Because onions are bad, and they tell him no, it's good, and he's permitted that. Not only that, all the onions. Says Gemara, particularly in why tell him that the onions are good? The kufi just say they're not bad. But about it says yes. Well, additionally, not only is it not bad, which would permit it's actually even good. Every time I love the next Mishnah, where the Mishnah describes another way of being peseach for a neder. If someone takes a neder on his wife, which forces them to get divorced, because they can't live together with certain situations. If you issa with hanoah, you can't live together with another person. You don't realize how much hanoah you're actually getting from your spouse. And so if you take certain nidja, no, you can't really live. So it's going to create a divorce. So on that says the Mishnah, Adam. You open up for a person, in his own dignity and the dignity of his children. In other words, and the chiddush of this is, we're not concerned that he's going to lie because he's embarrassed and say, yeah, I would have taken it even though people are going to laugh at me in the street or my kids. No, we're not concerned that he would lie. He would. So therefore, you could use the Pesach. If we're afraid that he would lie, then it wouldn't be a valid Pesach, like we said by Shabbat HaMakom. And normally we tell them like this. We say, Elo, you see a day, had you known that tomorrow people are going to talk about you. Kashi, this is the nature of that guy. Megarish is not sure he divorces his wife. But when they say that regarding your daughters, they're going to say, when there's Grusha saying they're the children of divorce. What did they see fit that this mother should get divorced? Obviously, something's going on. And people talk and they murmur regarding divorce. And Rami says, I had known that this is what's going to be. I would never, and this oftentimes happens, that people don't take into consideration what is going to be. Had I known that, well, you see, I would never have taken a neder. So then he permitted, he does not have to keep the neder, and therefore that's not going to force divorce, and that will save him from what he says I would never have taken, had I known, would be. Now, it says the Mishnah, a halacha we mentioned in the previous daf. A guy says, Koinim, Shani Nesis Koinis Ku'udah. Says, I'm taking neder. This shidduch was read way too many times. I'm taking neder. I'm not marrying this girl who's ugly. Turns out, she's actually very pretty. Or he says, Shchayr, she's black. Turns out, she's actually white. Sorry, says too short. Turns out, actually, she's actually tall. So it says the Mishnah Mutaba, he's permitted to marry her. Now, it's not because she's ugly and she became beautiful. It's not because not because she was dark and she became white. Certain people were black and then they became white. Not because of that. Or not because she was short and then she took some type of growth hormones or whatever, and she became tall. Because as the Ram points out, as we said this in the previous stuff, that no, in such a situation actually would not be permitted, because it's not like making your tonight your neder like dependent on something. Because we said that this is not something that was common, at least not in Talmudic times. Therefore it does have the halacha of nailed, in contrast to other things that we said are not like nailed, because like toilet nidra b'dav, it's like what we said nailed ve'ena nailed. No, here we said that you can't use it as a pesach; it's considered as nailed. Here the reason is ela shaned talis, is because it's a mistake, and you actually don't even need the chacham to be a matter. It's just an error. He thought that this girl was ugly. Turns out that she's really beautiful. I think the Mishnah brings a very interesting story. There was a story with one person. He made himself forbidden to have any benefit from his niece, from his sister's daughter, because she was ugly. And he's like, that's it, I don't want to have anything to do with her. And everyone puts pressure to marry the niece in Talmudic times, especially because it was a big mitzvah. But they brought this girl to the house of Rabbi Shmuel, and they made her beautiful. Rabbi Shmuel said to this guy, he says, that B'ni, my son, Mizuna Darta, did you take a neder from this one? She's ravishing. I would never, no, not this woman. Rabbi Shmuel made her permitted because it was haste. His girl didn't have money, didn't have any access to any beautification process, and then it says, so Rabbi Shmuel permitted her. At that moment, Rabbi Shmuel cried and he says, the Jewish girls are beautiful, but poverty makes them disgusting. And you have this, they make these great shows about people that have inherent beauty, but just you can't see because they don't have access to certain things. But they're really beautiful. Actually, Shmuel passed away. So the Jewish girls were lamenting. But they said, the Jewish girls, Al Rabbi Shmuel cry on Rabbi Shmuel. It says by Shalom Al-Hosed Shmuel Beis that B'nai Yisrael El Shaol Bekinon, they brought up to a lamentation on Shaul, and Rabbi Shmuel, that was because of what he invested in the cause of the Jewish girls to show how they're really beautiful, and it's just they don't have money. Now you want to ask a question that says, wait a second, Maisa Lister? It sounds like that you're telling me a story in the Mishnah that contradicts. How can you bring a story that contradicts what you just said? You told me that when she's ugly and she becomes beautiful, not that she was beautiful, she becomes beautiful, she's usher, it's only because of Neder Tois, but when she comes, it's usher. And then you tell me a story of Shmuel took an ugly girl and made her beautiful. So how can you then quote that story? That's neither, I thought that's not valid. How is he mounted that based on that? So it's the Gemara, Chesura, Mefsir, you're right, there's words missing in the Mishnah. And what it's supposed to say, it's actually machlekes. Rabbi Shmuel disagrees with the Chachamim. I feel a ku'urim and nasis no. Even if she's ugly, and she becomes beautiful. She does some type of dental work, she does some type of whatever, and she becomes beautiful. She's dark skinned and they do some type of treatment and she becomes white. She's shortened and they put in some type of implant or whatever it is and she becomes tall. That is a ma'aseh be'echad, the story with a person, he took another from his niece, they brought her to the land of Yishmael, and they made it beautiful because, as the Ran says, Yishmael holds, you actually could open up with Noilit, which is the opinion of Rabbi Lezer we have in the mission of Son of David, and even did an action based on that. It says the Ran, even though we don't hold like him, we hold like Rabbanan, which they only permit it only if you find out that she really was beautiful. But if you made her subsequently beautiful, that we hold would be Noilit, and that we hold would not be a valid Neder, heter for a Neder. Now, actually, as the Tindam and the Gemara actually explains what was the story behind this. That actually she actually had a tooth had fallen out, and she had another tooth, a fake tooth, put in its place, which is not as pretty, and therefore is when you see this girl smile, it was not enough for this uncle. But also, Shmuel made her a golden tooth from his own, and therefore then she saw it was beautiful. And therefore then he was like, oh, that type of girl I wouldn't have. So therefore it's matter the nether. Now Kishach when Shmuel passed away, so he eulogized the masjid opened up with the following words. B'nai Yisrael, and Jewish women, al Rabbi Shmuel bichena, on Rabbi Shmuel you should cry, Hamabishchen v'chulu, he dressed you up, etc. Which, like we said, like by Shaul, which was this were the words that they said. And again, for Shmuel, it's because of what he invested in the Jewish women. Now, the Gemara ends off this Amid with stories, and they're really telling us the Chasidus, the piety of Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel, or we're discussing Rabbi Shmuel. So we mentioned that, and then we go into other tzaddikim, into their Chasidus. Someone told his wife, Kainem shi'i at nemesli, take a net that you could not have benefit from me. Asher te'imi tavshilach Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon. Until you go to the big Gedolei Adar, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon, and have them taste your dish. Why he said this? Maybe because she didn't know how to cook and he wanted her to bring it to the tzaddik, and whatever it was, says, you can't have hanav of me until you bring it to Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda told Yehuda, he tasted the food, and then he says, Kabachayma. If to make shalom bayis, to make peace between husband and wife. My holy name, says Hashem, that's written in sanctity, is erased on the bitter waters, the cursed waters, that the site to drink, this is like the woman. So the suffix, my situation of doubt. And it's regarding me, Allah can become all the more so that. Oh, on the what meaning on the suffix of what?
She's a certain level. She was Muzama.
But it's to bring peace.
So Misha definitely do the suffix, even though you don't know for sure, it's still being way for the Shem Hashem.
Interesting. Yeah. Because you wonder, I mean, but still the shalom bayis. It's not the suffix.
It's not the suffix. If he drinks it, it's good.
If she dies, there was no suffix. Oh, you mean to say because it's suffix, you might not bring shalom. Because you might die. But
she might be.
Right. But by me, Allah and by me, Allah is going to become all the more so that I should, eat from our food. But Rabbi Shimon did not taste it. Allah says, he moves to call the Almana. Says, let all the sons of the widow die, which, as the Ram says, he was cursing the husband that he should die, and that his wife should be a widow, and he was also cursing the kids that they should be called the sons of the widow after his death, which the Ram for some reason learns that means that they're also going to die because they're also get this title. And they're also part of this sin, as the Marshal explains, because with the oven of Nadarim, the bun of a Yemusu, so that they're also going to die. And he says, let the guy starve. Shimon won't move from his place to go ahead and be degraded and have to eat this woman's soup. Boy, moreover, he says, I don't want them to get accustomed to taking the dark. You're going to be an accomplice. You're going to be abetting this behavior, you're enabling it. If you go ahead and do this, and therefore this is I'm not doing it. But again, we see the chassidus of the Rabbi Huda that he did this. Now another story the Gemara brings Haku, the Amal of the basic. There was someone who said to his wife, I'm taking that you cannot have benefit from me. Until you spit at Rabbi Shloimy. So she spit on his clothing. And he was mad to the net because she did what she had because she spit at me. So I'm like, he said, I don't know. This guy had in mind for disgrace. And if that's the case, so she had to spit at the body of Shloimy, not at his clothing. That's not sufficient. Amalei said to him, spitting on the clothing of Shloimy is lucid opposite. That's a great disgrace. The Rebbe Shapel's, if you spit on it, that this is a grace of the Zion. It's genig shine. It's enough to fulfill that tonight. Additionally, the Gemara says, "Who downloaded the base?" Someone said to his wife, I'm taking that you cannot have benefit from me. Or the gears is not really mum, but the word the gears is dover. It's like the word is ma'oin. You have to show something beautiful of you until she showed something beautiful. In other words, she was very unattractive. And he was trying to say, I don't want anything to do with you until you basically find something beautiful in you. So Amalaham, he said to them, maybe she has a beautiful head. Amalai, they said to him, it's Sigalgo, she has a round head, not a beautiful shaped head. Shemasari, no, maybe she has beautiful hair. So they said, it's like strings of flax. I mean, this is not good quality here. You're not having this advertisement for that shampoo company. No, maybe she has beautiful eyes. No, truth is saying, they're round. They're not almond shaped. Shema's now maybe she has beautiful ears. No, Kful is saying they're actually double. I mean to say they're very large and they're like double over. Shema Chayma, no, maybe she has beautiful nose. No, and you see how you could find attraction in a woman from this Gemara to understand all the questions they ask you, but she's not getting it on any one of them. Maybe her beautiful nose, no bulbu. She has like this clogged up nose. Shema Sipsananas, maybe she has beautiful lips. No, obviously they're thick. Shema Tzavana, maybe she has a beautiful neck. No, Shakatu, it's very short. A long neck is very beautiful. Shema Kresa, no, maybe she has a beautiful abdomen, her belly. No, it's bloated. Shema Yagleno, maybe she has beautiful legs. No, the Chabis Kishal Abza, very graphic. It's wide like that of geese. Shema Shmona, maybe she has a beautiful name. Lachlucha Shema, her name is filth. Oh, Amalani says Yafa Karnas Lachluchas. That's very appropriate that they call her filth. She Maluchlachas Mamma because she's filthy with blemish of Ashaya and because Ashaya Numan because it's very appropriate. So that's the possibly whatever. It's very appropriate. So that's considered something beautiful and permitted her. Another story the Gemara brings. Ubar Bubble. There was someone from Bubble, the Solik Lardi Soul. He made Aliyah, he went up there to so the Nasib Itza, and he married a woman. And this we see that some people they hesitate to marry from different cultures for this reason. Because Amallah, he said to her, Beshilili J Talfi. He says, cook for me 2 lentils. In other words, a little bit, that's how people speak. People speak, 1 or 2, but she was a fool, and she understood him literally. So Beshilila J Talfi. He comes home for dinner and he sees 2 lentils on his plate. So Rasakal gets angry at her. So the next day he tells her, make me griva is a large quantity. In other words, like the Mefarish explains, he thought that it was just very difficult for her, so she's not going to cook, but she'll cook like the amount of a normal meal. But Bashila Griva, she was very literal, very black and white woman. She cooked him a griva, like a whole for an army. So Amalai said to her, Zili, Isili, Trebutini. He said, go ahead and bring me 2 Batini. Now, as the Ran explains, that's the Aramaic of Abaticha, of melons. So he was from Babel, he spoke Aramaic. So he said, bring me 2 watermelons. It sounds like one of these like jokes, but Azaz Isila Trei Shragi, she brought him 2 lambs, which are their targum is Batini. So she thought he wanted 2 lambs. So he was so angry at what she was doing. Amalai said to her, Zili Tari Yasun Al-Gesh the Babel. Go break it on the top of the doorstep. Now she thought that actually Baba meant Baba Ben Buta, the Talmudic sage. So Yosef Baba Ben Buta Baba, this is like you can't get more poetic than that. Baba ben Buta was sitting by the Baba, he was sitting by the doorstep, because during Dina, and he was judging a court case. Azaz, she went, she broke it on his head. Said, break it on Resha to the Baba. Amalei said to her, what are you doing? So Amalei, she said to him, my husband told me to do. He said, break it on the head of Baba. So Amar, he said, you did the will of your husband. Hashem should take after you two sons like Baba and Buta, which correlate to the two lambs that were broken on his head. Shall return to the 9th parak, in parak of which again spoke about primarily regarding this idea of what exactly regarding Chatas Nadarm, did you mean that you could be matter in that? I think that's
There's no loyal woman today like you saw.